This is Kits and Wagers. Happy 2024. We're back for the first time since talking about cookies like 2-3 weeks ago. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Chris Owen. We're talking Game Week 21, the first weekend of Game Week 21, I should say, here on this show, giving it some bets. Chris, Happy New Year. I know people get pissed off, specifically Larry David, when he say Happy New Year 12 days after the new year actually started, but Happy New Year anyways. I haven't seen you since the new year turned. Welcome to 2024. And did you get enough cookies over the break?
Thanks, Adam. I think you can use Happy New Year all through quarter one. You know, it could be like.
Don't tell Larry David this. I don't know if you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I don't think I'm gonna. Yeah, okay. I'm a fan, but I don't think I could. You know, I don't think I'll ever run into Larry David personally.
You're on the
Happy
West
New Year,
Coast.
at least through middle of February seems fine. Like there's going to be 10 and a half other months after that, and we're still pretty fresh in our minds. Anyway, it's good to be back. We had a little hiatus. The soccer didn't stop necessarily, but we took a much needed hiatus. We were coming off a little bit of a nice little streak there at the end of the year, but we're back now. Got some big games, a bit of a weird game week here for us that we're going to get into. I've got, for the fans, the OG fans of Kits and Wagers here, we kind of rifled through our kits over the years, and I'm in the Dortmund quarter zip here. If you're not watching on YouTube, a lot of interesting transfer talk. Jadon Sancho came in for a medical, so his imprisonment or his purgatory at Manchester United, at least till the end of the season, is over. Which is good to see. He's great talent at Dortmund and hasn't seen any sort of that hasn't come to fruition at all with United. So I'm happy to see him get some run back at the old club. A lot of interesting transfer talk there. So, anyways, we're back. I am a little chubbier from the cookies, I'll say. Cookies and or some good cold beers over the break. But we're, like you said, 12 days into the year, so I've had a little bit of time to distance myself from that and back running a clean tight ship here. But good to be back with you here, Adam.
Yeah, I didn't have the surprise for you, but I got a different kind of kit. You got the Dortmund kit going, and I have the Blizzard kit. So this is an icebreaker merino 260. Underneath, we got a pelican here, just showing off some good vibes. As we get to Blizzard 2024, we're about T-minus 60 minutes from the Blizzard starting up over here in Michigan. We're gonna get some lake effect, or we can get some 40, 50 mile per hour gusts. We're gonna get a couple feet of snow here. So hopefully that doesn't start immediately and my internet goes out. So that's what I got. I got the Blizzard kit on. That's what I was going with.
You got a snowblower, or you a shovel guy?
We have a skinny driveway, and my wife has tried to get a snowblower the last 3 years, but I haven't budged. I still shovel, and we'll see. We'll see what happens after this storm. Maybe my arms will be dead. Maybe my back will be broken, but my spirit will not be broken. I believe in the shovel as long as we have a skinny driveway, is what I'll say.
That's a hard hat and lunch pail effort from you. And if your soccer podcast isn't a shovel guy and it's a snowball guy, maybe consider your podcast again. So good to hear, Adam. You're holding out for the hard work, the hard yards, if you will.
For now, your birthday's coming up. I turned 36 since the last time we talked. My birthday was
nice. Happy belated.
Was over the break. So, the years are getting up there. It's starting to get a little more difficult to do things, specifically shoveling snow, specifically shoveling 2 feet of snow. So as I said, we'll see how that goes. But we got Game Week 21 to talk about. So there's 4 games this weekend. We're going to have bets on all 4 of those games, something we don't usually do. We got Burnley home against Luton Town Friday. We would have liked to talk about that, but that game's in 5 hours from now. So there's no point in, doing this show now and then having that content be up for, 4 hours of usefulness kind of thing. So we're doing 4 different games. We're going to do a single game parlay at the end of the show on the Chelsea Fulham match. So you got to stay till the end of that show, to the end of the show to find out about that. That is the big bet that you're going to want. We have, I believe it's 2 plus 285 single game parlay we have in that one. But the first game we're going with, we got Newcastle home against Manchester City on Saturday. Again, game week 21. So in addition to this being spread out through like 10 days, all these games are standalone matches, which is just another thing you don't usually see. I don't remember if this has actually happened before in the Premier League when all 10 matches of a game week were just standalone games, but here we are. Newcastle plus 450 to win. Manchester City minus 175. You got the draw at plus 340. Over 2.5 goals is minus 160. Under 2.5 goals at plus 130. We got the news this morning that Joelinton is going to be out for 6 weeks. So that's a new injury for Newcastle to add to their already pretty lengthy list. And then you have Manchester City. Erling Haaland was confirmed out this morning as well. So he's out. John Stones is also out. The question for Manchester City is, will De Bruyne start? Will Doku start? We got the, the 7th, I want to say, last week in Manchester City played in the EFL Cup, and De Bruyne and Doku came off the bench. So the question for City will be, are those guys going to be ready to start? And if not, we'll see what they look like. So, Chris, how big of a factor here is even if he starts, even if he doesn't start, is just like having De Bruyne back, first of all, and then Doku, who had been out for more than a month against a team that's dealing with, I don't know, 5-6 first-team injuries.
Yeah, big time factor here. I mean, two things here. A midfield of Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne is undoubtedly the best midfield in the EPL. So, if they can get both of those guys in there and then, sit Foden in behind and let Rodri clean up and De Bruyne kind of spray and find outlets. I mean, no defense in the league wants to play against that. Another big factor that you did kind of briefly touch on is no Erling Haaland, the Golden Boot winner. I think him and Salah are currently tied on 14 goals. That's a huge miss, especially when you consider. I mean, you did mention that Newcastle is going to be missing a number of players, but I honestly think their back line looks pretty strong in comparison to what they usually run out there. Dan Burn will start. They got Schär, Botman, and Trippier. I think that's their preferred starting back line, if I'm correct. I mean, they're going to be missing Nick Pope in goal, which is obviously a huge miss. Dubravka's okay, but that's still what they're looking for out of their back line. Another factor here, Newcastle, best team in the league at home defensively. They've conceded just 7 goals at home so far this season. They're way stronger at home than they are away. When you compare their records, in 10 games this season, they have 8 wins and 2 losses. Those 2 losses, one being the 2, I think it was 2-1 to Liverpool, and then they recently lost. I think it was Nottingham Forest was their most recent outing, which is a pretty bad look. But and then looking at their away form, they're just brutal away from home. 1 win, 2 draws, and 7 losses. So way better at home. St. James Park, obviously a really tough place to play typically. So the Haaland being gone, not being available, and the factor that Newcastle has their strongest back line, they are really good at home. They're good defensively at home. I kind of leads me to believe. I initially thought about a Newcastle double chance because they're so strong at home, but I just seeing them lose recently at home kind of took me off that, and so I leaned into a little bit different. I went under 2.5 at plus 130. No Haaland. You mentioned some of the other injuries for both City and Newcastle. I see this being like a 2-0 or a 1-0 and pretty low scoring affair. And I think that's how we end up. But are you thinking low scoring here? Or you think you get the whole engine room back and the City midfield back, and they're going to be able to put up goals against this Newcastle team that's starting Lewis Smiley, starting Sean Longstaff in the midfield?
I think we're on the same side here. So you gave your bet. I wrote down my bet yesterday. You gave your bet overnight, and it was the same bet that I had. You got under 2.5 goals plus 130, and we're kind of thinking the same thing because I was also considering Newcastle double chance, but at some point, Newcastle double chance is difficult to take against Manchester City. You may have taken that last season in this game. I remember it resulted 3-3. I feel like you had it.
I had plus 1.5. I remember.
Okay, it was plus 1.5. Yeah, the plus 1.5 is like minus 200 right now.
Yeah, not feasible.
Yeah, I think I actually took under 2.5 or under 3.5, and it finished 3-3. no guarantees. I'm trying to remember what we talked
was
about
2
like a
seasons
year.
ago.
Oh, was it 2 seasons ago? All
Yeah,
right.
it was
Well,
2022.
maybe it was 2 seasons ago. No, that
Because
was
City won both
that's
these
last
games
season.
last year.
That was last season. August. It was early in the.
Oh, you're
That's
right.
like one of the first games. Yeah.
Good call.
And then they just played. They had the EFL Cup game.
The calendar turns to 2024, and I'm like, that's like 4 years ago.
That's what happens. It's a new year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I just lost what I was talking about, but yeah, we're on the same thing. This is their preferred back line. You mentioned the Nottingham Forest game. That was like at the end of maybe 3 straight weeks of just a game every 3-4 days kind of thing. They were just dead tired. It's now been a week. They had that big win at Sunderland, and there's been talk for the past week. I know Eddie Howe may have been a favorite to be the next manager sacked, which okay. If half your team is injured, I don't know if it's the manager's fault, but here we are. We're not gonna talk about Eddie Howe here, but they've had a week from that Sunderland match. They're back at home. They have their preferred back line for the most part, maybe not even the most part, assuming these 4 guys start. Joelinton's out, but Lewis Miley has been playing well, and the front 3 is pretty solid. Okay, they don't have a ton of depth here, but I think playing at home is enough. And I'm going, so instead of the under 2.5 goals, which was what you have, I went Newcastle +1 corner in the first half at -120. Lately been kind of going against Newcastle corners, but for Manchester City with how they play without Haaland, I don't know if I don't have the exact numbers, if it means less corners, but it means less crosses from open play. So less crosses from open play means, okay, defenders aren't going to be heading the ball out of bounds kind of thing. Sure, we're going to get shots and deflections. Maybe that's going to lead to corners. We'll find out. But that was just another added talking point for me. I just think that in the first half, I think Newcastle know that they got a point last season in this spot. They already beat them while with, B squads in the EFL Cup, in the Carabao Cup. I think they have some confidence coming off that win against Sunderland. I think they know they can, or they think they can get a point in this one. And I think they're going to come out pretty strong. It's going to be pretty tight in this first half. And if we're getting +1 on Newcastle corners, I'll take that. So that's -120. Chris's is under 2.5 goals, which is +130.
Interesting that I think the Newcastle, as of last night, their over under for corners on this game was 3.5. So you expect them, I mean, you're taking them to get like 2 corners and City have like 1 corner essentially.
Oh no, in the first half. I think Newcastle for the game is 3.5.
Yeah, but so you're expecting like first half to be like 2-1 or 3-1 or something like that.
Yeah, 2-2, 2-1.
Okay. Oh,
I mean, 2-1's a push, but 1-1, 2-2.
Yeah.
I think Newcastle will get a couple corners, and I don't like. Are we going to get right away? It's just going to be okay. Manchester City 80% possession, and they're just going to have the ball in the attacking third the first 45 minutes. I don't think that's going to happen. So how are they going to get to 4 or 5 corners? I don't think that's what Manchester City are going to do, at least from the start. Maybe if it's scoreless and we get De Bruyne comes in, Doku comes in, and then Manchester City are trying to push it on. Newcastle are trying to, hold it down, hope for this point kind of thing. But I don't think that's what's going to happen from the start.
That's fair.
It's very fair. I don't like the -120, but
yeah, you'd expect them, like, considering it's 3.5 for the game, and they expect they're giving you +1 here. I thought maybe it'd be a little closer, but.
Yeah, I mean, Man City are 5.5 for the game, so it's not like their game totals is massive.
Yeah,
like the corner total doesn't. I don't think it matches what the actual game number is. Where like Man City are, -170 to win. You'd think like a bigger fair like that would be okay. I don't know, 6.5 corners to 2.5 corners. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
We're moving to Sunday, though. That was Saturday. Again, we're talking about the Chelsea-Fulham match at the end of the show in our single game parlay. That is the other Saturday match. We have 2 games on Sunday, and I'll put that up on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, make sure to give a thumbs up on YouTube as well as subscribe. We have Everton home against Aston Villa. And actually, I think for the first time in a long time, we got we got press conferences for all the games we're talking about. So I guess that is one positive here as we talk Friday morning. But Everton are plus 180 to win at home. Aston Villa are plus 145. The draw is plus 260. And then for goals, you're getting over 2.5 goals is minus 140. Under 2.5 goals is plus 115. So Aston Villa, they might be getting back. Pau Torres should be good to go. Tielemans is back from, I think he's been out for about a month. He's been training. The news for Everton is that Dwight McNeil suffered an ankle injury a little more than a week ago, maybe exactly a week ago in the EFL Cup. Doucouré is coming back from a hamstring injury, probably not ready to start. And then they have Idrissa Gueye is out on playing at AFCON. So without McNeil and Doucouré, some changes. But I guess the good news, I don't know if you've been paying attention to Everton, but they repealed Dominic Calvert-Lewin had a red card in the Carabao Cup a week ago. They got that taken away, so he's good to go. So he's in the starting 11. But Danjuma also started that match. Probably going to start over McNeil. Danjuma has not started a league match since September, so that's fun. And then Seamus Coleman is also back from injury. Aston Villa maybe struggling a little bit ahead of this game. They had those big Arsenal Man City wins and then had some iffy results is what I'll say. You're questioning my struggling part there, but what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, really interesting matchup. Everton missing some pretty key pieces. I mean, McNeil's probably their best player, I'd say. So he's going to be a big miss. It was good to see that DCL red card did get rescinded. You know, there is some sort of justice in this world because that was a pretty brutal red card. Idrissa Gueye being out that's tough for their midfield. I mean, they still have Onana, who's been really good for them, but he's going to be a pretty big miss for them overall. I mean, you mentioned a little bit a blip in form for Villa. They're still in second, or is it second place, I believe, just a couple points above City with a game in hand. They dropped points at home against Sheffield United, where they had been so good at home. They then lost 3-2 to Manchester United, but kind of righted their ways the following match where they beat Burnley 3-2, and then most recently, I think this was last weekend, they beat Middlesbrough 1-0 away in the FA Cup. So they have bounced back with 2 wins since that little blip in form against Sheffield United, Man United. But this is an interesting matchup. Everton have been extreme. I mean, they haven't, maybe not extremely, but they've given up a fair bit at home. They haven't been super good. They've had 3 wins, 1 draw, and 6 losses at home. So it's not like they're giving up a ton of goals, but they've conceded 12 in 10 matches. I think Villa, they're going to be able to bounce back. I had a number of thoughts when I initially looked at all these bets, but I actually went for a little corners bet here since the show can be corners and wagers. I went Villa race to 5 corners at plus 100. Everton overall, they give up, it's about mid-table in terms of in terms of corners given up, but I think that Villa, who have been really strong, I think they're averaging a little over 6 corners a game, that they'll be able to kind of put Everton under pressure throughout the match and rack up a few, at least 5 corners. And then looking back at some of the recent matches with Everton, you see some of these teams who have just put up, it differs in quality of talent, but City put up a ton of corners against them. Wolves, even Crystal Palace, I believe, was over 5 corners in the FA Cup match too recently. So yeah, I expect Villa to put them under pressure and to find 5 corners the quickest way.
Yeah, Everton are bottom 3 in terms of possession in the league, and without McNeil in there, maybe that hurts a little bit, but definitely without Gueye in there, definitely hurts in the midfield in terms of preventing Villa from doing that. I'm just trying to look up corners allowed at home. I'm using our cheat sheet here. Everton are actually 5th worst in the league in terms of corners allowed at home. So that backs up what your bet is here. So congrats on the numbers making sense for your bet.
I love when that happens. Sometimes you just shot in the dark, but this time I looked at the numbers, Adam.
Yeah, mine is corner related. This is a corner game here, I guess. I think like this feels like a 1-1 type of game, 1-1, 2-1 type of game. So I didn't really want to touch the over under, and I'm not going to take a double chance here. I don't feel comfortable with the money line, but I mean, you mentioned Aston Villa coming back a little bit, but just looking at some of these results, so they scored. They needed a goal in like the last minute. They played at home against Sheffield United. They needed a last second goal in stoppage time against Sheffield United to get a point from that game. They were up 2-0 against Manchester United. Then they let 3 goals in the second half. That 3-2 game against Burnley, that was another late goal. It was 2-2. They needed a late goal to win that game. Again, at home against Burnley. You know, this Aston Villa team who were pretty much, I mean, I guess before that Sheffield United game, they were dominant. They were dominant at home. Again, we saw the Arsenal Manchester City wins. And then that Middlesbrough win came off of Matty Cash deflection in, I don't know, the 87th minute. Otherwise, it was a scoreless draw written all over it outside of like a deflected goal. So I'm not entirely sure Aston Villa are playing, you know, at their peak from we saw their big wins. So then you throw that with Everton, who they have some missing pieces. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to want to do this, but I think this is going to be, I don't know if I want to say similar to Manchester City, Newcastle, but I don't think this is like back and forth written all over it. We'll see. Maybe Everton really sit back and Aston Villa kind of getting, it's kind of like a counterattacking battle, which I guess it seems like it's always possible with these Everton matches. And that will lead to more corners, but it just feels like it's going to be a little more defensive here. We got some missing pieces. We have Aston Villa, maybe some struggles here and there. So I'm just going under 4.5 corners in the first half at plus 105. So that means to get your bet to hit Aston Villa race to 5 corners, we're going to need that to hit in the second half. That'll be when either Everton are up 1-0 or it's scoreless and Aston Villa are, you know, kind of pressuring, similar to what we said against Manchester City, kind of pressuring late in the match, getting that 5th, 6th corner kind of a thing.
The good thing about this is we both can hit. You know, Villa could have 4 corners in the first half, set up nicely, you know, for that second half.
That's too close. We only want 2 corners in the first half.
Maybe 3 3-0 corners. You know, you're looking good, or yours hits. I'm primed for a little, you know, 2 corners in the second half, and we both hit, and you know, do well there. You know, we're both on corners here, so that's always a corners and wagers bet. A couple other things that I thought would be interesting. You mentioned, I mean, Everton has the opposite thing going than you know Newcastle does. Newcastle great at home, who we just talked about. Everton really not that great at home. They're I think 5th in the table of points gained at home. They've won 3 games. They've drawn 1, and they've lost a total of 6. Not a ton of goals at home. And so something to consider here would be the under 2.5. It was plus 115 as of last night. Otherwise, I just have a tough time seeing Everton win this game. I think you could look at a same game parlay, which is something I also thought about. You can get Aston Villa double chance and either under 3.5, which is minus 125, or if you want to go a little bit deeper on that one and you don't think there will be a lot of goals in this, you can go Aston Villa double chance under 2.5. That's plus 125 as a same game parlay. So a couple other bets there that I would consider taking, but this is corners and wagers here for this particular match.
Yeah, Everton actually have the same amount of points away from home as West Ham do, who are 6th in the table. So speaking of the home away difference, though, just in terms of just thinking about it, Everton have had a lot of these games where they can't score at home. They lose matches. They have 3 expected goals, something like that. They're pumping in shots, but none of them hit the back of the net. I feel like that's happened, I don't know, at least 3 of their home games. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why they have a pretty bad home record. But that's what happens when you can't score. You get 30 shots, but you can't score. That's a problem. Results in losses is what I heard. So, final game of the weekend, and you know, I think all 3 of these games we're talking about are fairly fun. I wouldn't say one is bigger than the other, but you know, Manchester United, Tottenham, maybe bigger on the surface just because of the teams playing here. So Manchester United are at home, plus 115 to win. Tottenham are plus 205. The draw is plus 295. And this one, you got to go a little higher here. So over 3.5 goals is plus 105. Under 3.5 goals is minus 125. Manchester United are getting some players back. It's assumed that Andre Onana is going to play for Manchester United and not for his country in African Cup of Nations. Eric Ten Hag gave no comment on that today. It's assumed he's going to play. Luke Shaw, we could see back in there. That would be the main guy returning. Otherwise, it's been kind of the same group. Outside of maybe Anthony could slot in here, but I assume it's going to be Rashford, Garnacho, Højlund, Bruno Fernandes. We'll see who slots up in the midfield there. Could be the youngster Kobe Mino. But this has kind of been their group lately, especially without Luke Shaw in there. And then the one thing with Tottenham, as we look at the projected lineups, I threw in Timo Werner today because I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So we got news that Lo Celso has a muscle injury, so he's out, and we know Son's out. And the options are kind of slim because, Papa Sarr, Basuma, those guys are gone to AFCON. So we got Bentancur in there, Oliver Skip's in there. Pierre Højbjerg is always in rumors to move away from the team because he's not really a Postecoglou guy. So who's actually going to how is this lineup going to actually look? We could actually see Timo Werner and Dragusin start in this game. Dragusin officially signed Thursday, I want to say. So he would start over Emerson at center back because Ben Davies is out a month with a hamstring injury. So a few more injuries for Tottenham, which, isn't good news, but it's still a quality team here. As I'm looking, okay, Oliver Skip. There are questions in this Tottenham team. And if they do start Emerson at center back, I am worried a little bit, and I may. It feels like I want to change my bet once you'll see what it is. But are you giving the edge to Manchester United in the spot just because of what we're looking at with this Tottenham lineup?
Am I giving the edge to Manchester United? I don't. That's a big question. I don't know if I'm prepared to answer that, but I mean, Tottenham obviously struggling. It will be interesting to see if I feel like. It's tough to throw Werner right into the starting 11, but also what else are they going to do? So
they could start Brian Heel,
which I don't know. I do think that I love the loan signing of Werner for Tottenham. He's struggled pretty much the last 18 months, maybe longer than that. But in this system, I think he could really kind of flourish a bit under Big Ange, but. Tough to see him come in there. I first and foremost, I looked at the bets for this game last night. The thing that really struck me was both teams to score, which is typically one might depends on the team, but it might be around minus 150. Sometimes you're going to get better odds on that if it's like a poor a team more bottom of the table. But both teams to score, when I looked at it last night, is minus 245. I don't think I've seen that. I can't remember seeing that in a long time. Almost minus 250. You're not typically getting that at all. So that tells you kind of what to expect here. All the odds makers all right, United are going to give up some goals. Maybe Tottenham are going to score a couple, and vice versa. So that just I was struck by that, but. I'm a little weary of this bet, but it's the one that stood out to me the most. Tottenham, despite there was a good soundbite of Ange the other day, talking about how maybe he doesn't need to spend 200 million pounds on his team. He maybe just wants. I honestly think that United they haven't been good away from home. At home. They've given up 16 goals at home, which is the fifth most of any team in the league. And then Tottenham have scored the most goals in the Premier League away from home. They have 22 goals. So that leads me to believe. Go ahead and take a Tottenham goals bet. So I got Tottenham over 1.5 goals. It's plus 100. Again, United is conceding a fair bit of goals at home, and Tottenham scoring a ton away from home. So that's where I'm at on this match.
So we said both our bets could probably hit in that last one, and I'm not sure they can hit with this one. I'm going a little different here.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense. You're talking about these massive minus 245 odds, both teams to score. But I think this is a perfect play not to lose game for Eric Ten Hag, because that is Eric Ten Hag's favorite strategy. Let's play not to lose. And when they go down 2 goals, that's when there's a ton of goals in games. We saw that in the Aston Villa game. They went down 2, came back 1-3-2. I know it's happened multiple times against like a team like Nottingham Forest, that kind of thing. But I think they're gonna open things safe in this first half. I think it's gonna be scoreless, and I'm going with that because we have this Tottenham lineup here. Are Tottenham gonna be able to capitalize on how Manchester United play? I think that'll be the question here. How are they gonna line up? Is Werner gonna start? Is someone like Brian Heel gonna start? And then you mix around their midfield a little bit. Basuma and Sarr have both been really good in the midfield. Okay, you throw Oliver Skip in there. Son is out as well. So we're changing all these things up. And I know the question on the back line. We'll see who starts at center back next to Van de Ven. So I'm just looking at it like, okay, I think they're going to play Manchester United. They're going to want it. This is going to be a game where they want to win 1-0 kind of thing. That's kind of how Ten Hag wants to play. So the question is, will Tottenham be able to get that first goal and open things up? And at least in the first half, I'm thinking that's not going to happen. So I got under 2.5 goals is plus 170. I like the value here as well, but I just think that, okay, maybe we're taking Son out of the lineup, we're taking Sarr and Basuma out of the lineup. Are Tottenham going to be able to capitalize on how Manchester United play? And this bet is kind of saying that no, I don't think it's going to be crazy, because I think Tottenham are going to struggle to score, and we know that Manchester United can struggle to score pretty much against everyone. So that's how I think this one plays out. But I guess Tottenham could win 2-0 and both these would hit, but that would be a stretch. Anything?
Yeah, certainly.
I think I was breaking up a little bit.
I don't see Tottenham keeping a clean sheet.
Okay.
Yeah, some slight connection issues on my end, I think, or both ends. I'm not sure. But
sorry, the blizzard.
I caught what you said.
Blizzard of 2024 is upon us.
I caught what you said. I do think that a 2-0 result for Tottenham would be tough for them to manage. I don't think a clean sheet is going to work.
So what do you think the score is going to be?
I think it'll be like 2-1. Looking back at Tottenham's recent results, I mean, I feel pretty strongly about them scoring 2 goals. I think, they scored, I think, at least in their past, probably looking back to the Aston Villa loss. So the past 6 matches, they've had at least 2 goals in every match in the Premier League.
Until this game.
Yeah, well, I mean, what if it's 2-0, we both win. If not, I win.
Yeah, we'll see. We got, we're looking at our records right now, but they used to be worse, is what I'll say. The records used to be worse. I think I was down 1,000 at some point. Now I'm back down to 104. So it's been, we've both rebounded a little bit here, but Team Parlay maybe hasn't rebounded exactly as we get to this Chelsea Fulham match. So Chelsea and Fulham, both these teams are still in the Carabao Cup semifinals. Fulham just lost at Liverpool, and then Chelsea lost to Middlesbrough. So 2 losses coming in, but they both played midweek. And I think a lot of hate is going on at Chelsea. We see the odds 2 weeks ago. Chelsea were minus 215 to win this one. Now they're only minus 160, minus 170, depends where you look. Fulham are plus 450. So who the heck is Steven Benda? I don't know. Steven Benda has a knee injury, but that's an interesting one. Chelsea have a pretty big injury list here. Nicholas Jackson's out for AFCON as well, and Cuckoo has a new injury, which does not help things. But they've been running out kind of a similar lineup for the past, I don't know, I want to say last couple weeks, I guess, here. But they're home against Fulham. So how do you think this match is going to go down? I believe is the second leg of the semifinals actually in a few days after this one, at the following week.
Yeah, I believe they both played midweek here, so it's not like one team's getting the advantage. Chelsea lost 1-0 at Middlesbrough in the first leg. Fulham looked pretty good, honestly, on Wednesday against Liverpool. They lost 2-1. They were up 1-0 for maybe 60, 70 minutes, and then Liverpool brought on a couple subs and were able to come away with the result. But other than that, I mean, Fulham did look pretty strong against that Liverpool side. But yeah, this is a tough match to predict. I think looking at the 4 matches on the slate, I think this one had easily the toughest bets to select. So naturally, we're putting it into our parlay. I thought about a couple things here, but I ended up on Chelsea Fulham over 3.5. I see this game ending up like 3-1 Chelsea. I think Chelsea are kind of turning a corner. They are going to have to start Armando Broja up top, but other than that, I mean, they still have a Cole Palmer's been great for them. Mudryk is getting a little bit better. Sterling has been fine, but outside of that, I mean, they did beat Luton Town 3-2 previously in the Premier League. They beat Palace 2-1, so a couple wins in a row in the league there. So Fulham, on the other hand, they're doing all right. They're coming off a massive 2-1 win over Arsenal, but prior to that, they had lost. They had dropped two losses in a row to Bournemouth and Burnley. So I think Chelsea comes away with this one. I went over 3.5. It's the best odds I could really find to make our parlay work. So I'm on the over 3.5. I think Chelsea's going to be able to fill it up a little bit, and Fulham are going to have to go for it as well.
So I offered you Chelsea win and both teams to score, but you weren't comfortable taking Chelsea money line. But
I'm not still.
Okay. You still just prefer. You think it's more likely that either Fulham win or this is like 2-2 rather than Chelsea winning here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Essentially, I do think Chelsea are the better team, obviously on paper, but I don't have the confidence in betting Chelsea money line right now.
Yeah, that's a good. It's a good take. It's a good take. Say
no confidence at all.
Yeah, they have a +3 goal differential at home this season. Chelsea do, which is not very much. So if that says anything, though, yeah, I guess Chelsea have been Chelsea for the last, I don't know, however many years, where you can't trust them basically.
Yeah, they're pretty mid-table in terms of goals scored at home and goals against. They're pretty much like sitting even mid-table. So it's not like one's better than the other. But I will say Fulham have given up the second most amount of goals away from home this season. They've given up a total of 23 goals in 10 matches. So kind of bodes well a little bit for the over 3.5. But we're going to need a fair bit of work out of Chelsea to achieve it.
Yeah, I think so. Fulham, they don't have Alex Iwobi, and I don't know. I said this a bunch of times, but I think when they put Alex Iwobi in the starting 11, I don't know, a few months ago, that's kind of when they turned things around and started playing better. I just think as more of an attacking player, he's one of those guys who just runs for the entire match. I don't know, like a Jordan Ayew who just gets back on defense, runs pretty much everywhere. You take that out of the team, and that just changes some things up. Like Cordova-Reid doesn't do that. Willian doesn't do that. Harry Wilson doesn't do that. So you're kind of taking away a guy who's going to help a little more on defense kind of thing, who's going to, be a little more active. And, they played well against Liverpool for the most part, but I'm still kind of iffy on just how they perform. I guess without, which, I mean, I don't know, it sounds kind of crazy, but how they perform without Alex Iwobi. But they were worse earlier in the season without him. So I don't know. Just my part of the parlay here. Cole Palmer 3+ shots is -120. He has at least 4 shots in 4 of the last 6 matches. I believe it's 3 of the last 4 in league play, and then he had 4. Probably should have scored twice against Middlesbrough, but he had 4 against Middlesbrough. But yeah, he has 5 shots in 3 of the last 4 league matches. Then he had 4 shots against Middlesbrough, though he did only have 1 against Preston North End in the FA Cup. But, maybe some of this will depend on, is Broja going to start up front? Where's Palmer going to play? But I think that, similar to you, I think there's going to be opportunities in this game. Chelsea are at home. Chelsea are going to get opportunities. So let's just do we don't usually do something like this, a shots bet. So yeah. Cole Palmer 3+ shots -120 with Chelsea and Fulham over 3.5 goals at +145. That parlay is plus 285.
Yeah, I love the kind of, not, I wouldn't say random, but definitely a different bet than we typically give with this Cole Palmer 3+ shots. I also saw this morning in the RotoWire FPL rankings that Cole Palmer is the number 1 ranked player for this game week too, in the projection. So good to know.
Yeah. I mean, I'll pull up his profile here. Like his number, he has 8 goals and 4 assists in 16 games, and I mentioned like how many shots he's getting, and he's creating multiple chances every game. Might be on corners, that kind of thing. So he's doing a lot of stuff in every game. He's producing. He hasn't produced in only like 3-4 league starts this season, something like that. Yeah. So now you put him at home against Fulham, who are prone to allowing goals. So like it makes sense. The numbers spit that out, and it makes sense that he's up there just because, I mean, let's pull up the cheat sheet here though. RotoWire.com/soccer trial. Arsenal are the biggest favorite. Again, 5 of these games are next week. And so I guess maybe we'll talk about those games next week, even though it's the same game week here. But so yeah, Chelsea are the 3rd biggest favorite. Manchester City playing at Newcastle are the 2nd biggest favorite. And I mentioned Arsenal. Arsenal are having their scoring issues as well, having trouble scoring, hitting the back of the net, getting opportunities kind of thing, losing matches. And they're the biggest favorite. So, Cole Palmer as the top option, it kind of makes sense. Brighton are behind them in terms of the odds as well. So, and then I guess I should say also with Arsenal, it's always with Arsenal, their top 4 attackers are always in play to score. So that's why their numbers are kind of spread out more than a team like Chelsea. But yeah. You got anything else you got any thoughts for Burnley Luton Town? Though people will probably listen to that after that match has begun.
No, I really don't. A huge match for both of them. 3 points would go a long way in their effort to avoid the drop. But yeah, not a game I've necessarily analyzed before this show, so I'm going to avoid sounding like an idiot. But a big game. I would love to. I'm kind of like Luton this year. They're at least fun and frisky and a good team to watch. But yeah, no thoughts on it.
Fortunately for everyone, I wrote up a single game article that has a single bet and a single game at plus 210 single game parlay in this article. It's right here. You can see it if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter. You can see this article. There are bets for Burnley and Luton Town only. It's right on the site, rotowire.com/soccer, or just go to the betting page, go to soccer. It is there. So I'm not going to give my thoughts here. You got to read that article to find out what I think. But Burnley are at home. Vincent Kompany gets the photo, gets the premiere picture there. But Chris, welcome to Happy New Year. Happy 2024. Are we going to finish in the positive of the season? Maybe. Let's call this bounce back 2024. That's what we'll do. Bounce back 2024.
I mean, last year you were crazy in the positive. I was right around 500. I can't remember if I quite made it. I think I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. You would know.
I think you did.
I think I was 500 by about a couple bets, maybe, but don't quote me. Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. I think no problems here to get a couple bets right and keep it moving. We'll be back next week with another small slate.
There we go. More winners ahead. Thank you for watching. You can find Chris at CHROwen8 on Twitter. I am at RotoZdroik, and also follow RotoWire Soccer. Thank you for watching, everyone. This has been the first 5 matches of Game Week 21. So we'll probably be back for the next 5 matches of Game Week 21, and that will be a week from now. So see you guys next week. Good luck on your bets, and let's win some money. We got Liga MX returning today as well. Get your Liga MX bets in. That is the best league to bet, of course.
Thanks, Adam.